The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It is Monday night right here on Armed Radio. You are listening to Two Beards Talking. I am Daniel Sanders.
And I'm DonnieJ.
And as always, at the start of every show, we want to give a big shout out to the troops out there, and women, men and women serving overseas, deployed on the home front. We appreciate everything y'all are doing for us. Keep up the good work. Come home safe. We're all rooting for you back here at home. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. I know I did. Donnie, how was your Christmas?
Ate too much. Way too much.
You're supposed to know. You're supposed to do that at Thanksgiving.
Well, I did that at Thanksgiving, too. It just kind of carried over, you know.
Excuse me.
One of those things. But, yeah, ate way too much. I had a great Christmas. And now, as many people have done, I bought a membership to a local gym, and I'm going to that's my New Year's resolution, to work out every day.
To buy a gym membership and then use it for the first month, and then
like buying a treadmill that you can hang your clothes on. Yeah. Something like that. Hopefully I'll do better than that. I'm going to give it a shot. You know, at my age now, used to, you could knock off 20 pounds in, a month or so, not a big deal.
Right.
Now that 20 pounds takes 2.5 or 3 months or so.
Yeah. So, my Christmas was pretty uneventful. Didn't really do a whole lot. A buddy of mine came home on leave. We hung out for a little bit. Other than that, I've just been working pretty much. So,
translated, buddy of his came home on leave, and they hung out drinking quite a bit. So that's what that translates to. Just for those of you who are wondering.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Me neither.
I plead the fifth.
Me neither.
I plead the fifth. So.
One of my friends came up from South Alabama, and it was pretty much the same thing. What do you got? You got a bottle of Jack. What have you got? Bottle of Crown. Well, I tell you, this is my Christmas present to you, Mike. It's like when you both exchange Christmas presents and it's liquor. It's just a wonderful, it's the holiday spirit. I think that's.
Yeah, I think so.
Spirits.
Spirits. Yes. Spirits indeed. So we're gonna roll right into it. Big weekend for college football. Of course, we had the first round of the CFP, the college football playoffs.
I was not happy.
No, you weren't. And to be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting anything like this weekend went.
Well, I thought, I knew that Oklahoma was the underdog.
Yes.
It was a 2-touchdown underdog. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Sooners. I mean, really. By the first half, I was just, idiot me. I went on my social media page for the radio station and posted a picture of an Oklahoma Sooner shirt that you gave me as a Christmas present. Yeah. Real proud of it. Beautiful shirt. And I was like pointing to, and I told everybody, I said, my entire life I've never cheered for anybody except the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. The only two college football teams, college sports teams that I've ever cheered for, honestly. But I was going to make an exception because Jalen Hurts, Alabama boy, did good. Went out to Oklahoma. Pulling for him. I'll be damned. It seems like every time I wear a jersey or support somebody, they lose. So now I'm going to start supporting the other team. I figured it out. If I want my team to win, I'm going to cheer it and wear a shirt of the other team.
So come next November, weekend after Thanksgiving, if I see you rocking an Auburn shirt, we're going to have problems.
I'm rocking an Auburn shirt, big time. War Eagle, yeah. But no, I was very disappointed in the Oklahoma Sooners, and I think the Oklahoma Sooners are disappointed in the Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking it was, 49-14 at the half?
That was the saddest game I've ever seen. I mean, it was just a total unraveling. But, very few teams have ever been able to pull off something like that on the backs of one person. The exception being, and you're going to love this, Cam Newton and the Auburn Tigers. When they played Oregon for the national championship. I mean, very few people can say that it wasn't pretty much squarely on the backs of Cam Newton. But that was Cam Newton.
It was.
And Jalen Hurts is a phenomenal quarterback, but Cam at least had an offensive line.
Yeah.
Jalen had no offensive line. And if they did, they didn't show up on Saturday.
They didn't have a defensive line either.
No. I mean, when you score 49 points by the first half, your defense is pretty much shit.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I swear to God, I thought I was watching one of my high school's football games.
Hell, at one point, I thought it was a basketball score. By the end of the game, I'm like, what? What was the final score? Are you kidding? That's a small basket. That's a basketball game.
Yeah.
And it was really sad to see Jalen Hurts' college career end that way, because he's a phenomenal young man, an exceptional athlete, great quarterback, and I think his team pretty much let him down.
Yeah.
The other story, of course, is Joe Burrows and LSU. And I think we're going to have, since Jameis Winston, I think you're looking at the first Heisman winner and national championship winner, like I said, since Jameis Winston. But, traditionally, and I hate to say this, for quarterbacks at least, not running backs, not so much, but for quarterbacks, the Heisman has usually been like a curse. A doom. It's
kind of like the Madden curse ending up on the Madden case.
Yeah, something like that. It's like if you have a stellar college career and you win the Heisman Trophy as a quarterback, you're shit in the NFL. Or you things just don't. I mean, we're talking Ryan Leaf. We're talking some other names I can't really think of that come to mind right now. But if you have a really stellar career and you win that Heisman, it just seems to be the curse of death once you get to the NFL.
Yeah, which, I mean, that really wasn't the case for, say, Cam Newton.
No.
Cam Newton had a very phenomenal career in the NFL. I think he's kind of come to the end of it. What with the injury he suffered from
Peyton
this
Manning.
year. Peyton Manning.
Phenomenal career in the NFL. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But not always. But if you look back at the Heisman winners, it's the ones that have won and then gotten to the NFL, and the NFL stood for not for long. There's quite a few of them.
Yeah. And then, the other, I won't really call it a big upset, but it was an upset. Clemson was definitely not favored over Ohio State.
No, but I kind of had a feeling. I just had a feeling that Dabo and company were going to pull that one off. I really did.
I mean, I wasn't. I was calling it 31-24. I was calling it a 7-point game, and which, I mean, I don't. Truth be told, I didn't even see the end of the game because I was at work. It was a 6-point game, 29-23, Clemson on top. And I was not expecting it.
Well, the outcome, I was happy with that because I'm not a big Ohio State fan anyway. And, I should be cheering against Clemson because, well, they've beaten us, a couple times. The Crimson Tide a couple times. But that said, I'd rather have an ACC SEC matchup. I really would.
Well, I mean, either way, I didn't think there was any chance Clemson or Ohio State had a shot at beating LSU. Not the way they've been playing this year.
No. But the true test is going to be like in a couple weeks. We're going to find out what happens. My prediction is that the Tigers are going to win.
Oh yeah,
and lose.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. I might have to go against you. I don't think the Tigers are going to win. I think the Tigers are going to lose.
Well, okay. I think they're going to win. You think they're going to lose. So maybe we're both right. You never can tell. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do my prediction right now. And I hate to say this because once I do this, I know what's going to happen. But I'm going to say it's going to be Clemson by a touchdown. It's going to be a very close game. It's going to be very tight. It's going to be a shootout, I think. But I think it's going to come down to about the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, and I think it's going to be Clemson by 7.
I think Clemson's got a little bit more defense than what Oklahoma showed,
but not enough.
I don't think they've got enough defense. I don't think they can. When you've got Burrows and any one of his receivers,
Thaddeus Moss,
yes,
yeah,
son of Randy
Moss.
I mean, that's just one pairing.
Let's just hope that Thaddeus Moss does a little more with his career, his pro career, than his dad did, and learns from his dad's mistakes. That's all I can say. Randy Moss, phenomenal talent, stupendously wasted once he got to the NFL. And Thaddeus is that one play in the game, that reception was just, I mean, what, he like walked into the goal line.
There was nobody covering him.
And it was beautiful. It was poetry in motion, you know.
Yeah.
And LSU is going to they're going to make it close, but I'm hoping for an upset. And here's why. Team of destiny. Before LSU ever took the field against Oklahoma, they were already looking ahead to the championship game. Now, rightfully so, they had at the time I thought it was hubris. I thought it was pretty cocky. I thought they were ripe for an upset. Well, they proved that they weren't ripe for an upset because they destroyed Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That said, they've got this, we are the team of destiny, we've got it, blah, blah, blah. And that, going into the championship game on a neutral field, is going to be deadly.
I agree, yeah. But
can be deadly.
Can be. I don't think that's going to be the case here, though.
Okay, well.
I think Farmer John's going to get them out there and set them straight before game time.
Farmer John. You mean Ed Orgeron? Yeah.
Remember that time?
The only coach in the SEC that has to have subtitles whenever he's talking to the sports reporters. But no. So you make your prediction now, Daniel. What do you think it's going to be?
I'm calling LSU on top by 7.
Okay. Well, I'm the opposite. I'm calling Clemson on top by 7. So we'll see. We'll see who's right.
We will.
You
Absolutely.
Heard it. On to pros. The pros, yes. Today in the NFL, Miami Dolphins. Now I get a little history here. I've been a Dolphins fan since I was in grade school. Can't tell you why. I just liked the Dolphins. Actually, been a fan since probably the '72 Dolphins. The perfect team.
Yeah.
The only perfect team in the NFL, in the history of the NFL. Now, been a big fan. And over the past few years, that's really kind of hurt a whole lot. I don't think we've had a great team since Dan Marino left. And that said,
I don't think they had a great team before Dan Marino left.
Well, we did at least make it to the playoffs. Playoffs wasn't a word that, it was uttered in Miami. It hasn't been for the past many years, but that said, today we went out, we ended our season, and it was like I felt like we won the Super Bowl. We beat the New England Patriots in Gillette Stadium. 27-24?
Yeah, 27-24. Yeah,
and I felt like we won the Super Bowl, and everybody in Miami acted like they showed some bars down in South Beach, and people are jumping up and down, screaming, hugging one another, pouring drinks on one another. Wait, we just ended with like a 5-7 season or some shit like that.
We're not going to the playoffs, but we beat the Patriots.
It's kind of like, and you're gonna love this. It's kind of like your Auburn Tigers on many years. Yeah, we had we had a 5-5 season or whatever, but we beat Alabama.
Yeah.
You could win 2 games, but if one of them's against the Crimson Tide, it was a winning season and down in Lee County.
Damn straight.
But I felt that way today, and real proud for the Dolphins. And now looking at the playoff picture, really screw the playoff picture. We're not in the playoff picture. But looking ahead to the draft, we're about 4th, maybe 5th round pick, period. Like the number 5 pick in the first round. And I'm hoping that we get I would like a Jalen Hurts, but I guess I'll take a Joe Burrows. We need a really great quarterback. We've got a decent one in Fitzpatrick, but I would love to have a better one. I'd love to have some running backs, a couple of really great receivers, and finishing the way we did, it didn't hurt our draft picks too much, but we beat the damn Patriots, and that's all that matters to me.
Oh man, I mean, well, you're talking outside of my spectrum now because I don't really follow the NFL.
I don't either, but I follow the Dolphins, and it's been a rough and rocky road, and it still is, And I wear my Dolphins jacket out, and people go, "You really wearing that out in public, man?" Yes, I am. I'm not a fair weather fan. I don't jump on a bandwagon. I've been a Dolphins fan through thick and thin, and I get laughed at.
Even when the laces were out.
Yes, even, and literally, I've literally been standing in line in a convenience store or in a shopping mall or whatever, and had somebody go, "Really, you you still wear the Dolphins jacket?" "I do." And they're like, "I salute you, sir." or even better, if you see a fellow Dolphins fan, they're walking by, they're like, "Yeah." It's like, okay, there's still somebody out here that, is not ashamed of the Dolphins like I am. It's like we're kindred souls, two ships passing in the night. Hey, brother, how you?
And I won't lie, back during the heyday of Dan Marino Dolphins,
Mark Duper, Mark Clayton, super duper, yeah.
Back when I was, just a wee little thing.
Thanks. You had to throw that shit in there, didn't you?
I just, I didn't know shit about football then, but they were the team to like.
I liked the team. As a kid, I didn't know anything about football, but I liked the team because I liked the Dolphins and I liked the colors.
Yeah.
And then I started watching football, and I'm like, I like the Dolphins. And then, of course, in '83 when we got Marino, it's like, I love the Dolphins. And then we lost in the Super Bowl, and then then we came back again a couple years later, and we lost again. And we just kept trying to get back there, and we had some great seasons under Marino, and then. Then Jimmy Johnson had to go and fuck everything up and be named the head coach of the Dolphins, and it kind of went to hell after that.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, you had the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins.
Yes.
Those were the three teams that everybody that I knew. No one cared about the Packers. No one cared about the Steelers.
And you know what else I remember about the Dolphins? And I could be wrong here, and if not, if there's listeners out there that want to correct me, but I believe the Dolphins and the Cowboys used to always play on Thanksgiving.
If I'm not mistaken, you are correct.
I remember a couple of games when they played in Dallas in the snow, and like a last-second kick. And, I can remember this through a drunken haze probably back in the late 80s, early 90s. But they always used to play on Thanksgiving. And now they don't anymore, simply because I guess the Dolphins suck. In Detroit, it's a Thanksgiving tradition to watch the Lions lose on Thanksgiving Day, just like it. I guess it's has been in Miami the past few years. But anyway, that's a wrap for the pro. I'm not a big pro football fan either, but like I said, I do follow my Dolphins.
I'm not, and I'm not going to say it's because of Colin Kaepernick or anything like that, because I didn't give two shits about the NFL long before Kaepernick. Kaepernick wasn't even playing college ball, and I didn't give two shits about the NFL.
As far as the Kaepernick issue, we'll touch on this. I think I'm torn between the attorney. The attorney's theory and belief that he's got the right to express himself, and the former sailor's idea that I'd like to kick him squarely in his nuts, and knock his teeth in for kneeling during the national anthem. I'm torn between those two things. Yeah, he's got the right to do that. Yeah, I got the right to kick him in his teeth. Yeah, because I do think it's disrespectful. I think it's he's got a right to protest, but there's other ways to protest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Besides shitting on the national anthem and the American flag.
My take on it is, you're a professional athlete. You were a professional athlete.
Yeah, you're a professional shoe salesman. I'm serious. That's what he is. He's the world's best paid shoe salesman.
Oh my God! What's the TV show character's name?
Bundy. You're talking about
Bundy.
Married with Children.
Yes.
Yeah, Al Bundy. Yeah.
Yes, that's who he has become. But no, it's Use your platform to stand up for something. Absolutely, I agree with that. Taking a knee during the national anthem, as you said, is disrespectful to the men and women who wear the uniform and fight for this country.
You've got a color guards on the field holding a flag, or an honor guard standing there with flags, from representing each branch of the service, and you're gonna take a knee in front of those people. You're gonna take a knee in front of some people who are maybe attending the game and they're veterans or they're wounded warriors. And I just think that's disrespectful. As a professional athlete, here's a man that makes millions and millions of dollars that other people, he's making those millions of dollars because people that are making, less than $1,000 a month are a half a world away fighting to defend his right to make millions of dollars a year and take a knee.
Right.
And he's got the right to do that. But I think if he was any kind of a person, he would take his ass to Washington, D.C., protest in front of the White House like everybody else does, or like you said, he's a professional athlete with a bully pulpit. He can get on TV. He could, after an interview, he could. So, Colin, how'd you feel today in your 24-21 win against blah blah blah? Well, it was great. Blah blah blah. And by the way, I'd like to say that I protest. Blah 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 blah. There's your chance. There's your platform.
Except he never gets that opportunity because I don't think he could ever win.
There's that, and after the way he acted with his workout in Atlanta.
Oh my God!
I mean, has a bigger baby ever? I don't understand. Did he do that just to shoot himself in the ass? Did he do it to try and make more money for Nike? Or
Probably.
What was it? A publicity stunt? It's the most ridiculous thing. But let's not dwell too much on Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, no, fuck him.
Exactly.
Fuck him in his ass. So moving on.
How do you really feel, Daniel? Don't hold back, buddy. Don't hold back.
So, politics. I know politics. We love talking politics here on the show, and I know you've been dying to. You've got some stuff that's built up.
I got some stuff, but it's kind of tapered off a bit. I was for a while there, I was up in arms about the whole impeachment issue, everything that's going on, and here's the thing. He's been impeached, and they're going to hold back. Nancy Pelosi right now, she's basically going to hold back and
until the Democrats retake the Senate.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Basically, what's going on here is it's a waiting game. And what I believe is happening here is I believe they're trying to wait to find out who else is going to come forward, what else is going to happen, what's going to out. And it's kind of like a game of chicken. Well, or who's going to blink first?
Yeah, well, it's my understanding now that he has been impeached by the House. Now it goes to a trial before the Senate.
Right.
So technically, couldn't President Trump invoke the Fourth Amendment and request the right to a speedy trial? Well,
no, here's the thing. There's no written rules governing the timetable for delivery of the House decision to impeach him to the Senate. Only what's customarily been done. Precedent, as they say in the legal profession. But there's nothing carved in stone.
No.
And the Speaker of the House can do whatever she wants to. There was no written rules governing the timetable for Barack Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland. And if you'll recall, now, and this is hypocrisy in the utmost, Mitch McConnell went on camera, went on TV and said, it's his, two things that he said was, number one, it was his basically his desire, his one goal was to prevent President Barack Obama from getting anything done. Basically, that boils down to what he said. And the second thing was when they were trying to get Merrick Garland confirmed for the Supreme Court, his goal was to prevent him from getting confirmed. Now, fast forward. He stands up in front of the American people and says the exact opposite when the Democrats were trying to block Trump's choices for the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's like the biggest hypocrite in the entire U.S. Senate. At the risk of being disrespectful, I'm going to call him Senator Turtle because that's basically what he reminds me of. One big old turtle. Anyway, he if Pelosi follows Mitch McConnell's playbook, Donald Trump would never stand trial in the Senate. But that's probably not going to happen. All Pelosi has to do is wait. And here's what I don't know how many people touched on this. If she really wanted to, she could wait until November of 2020 to present the articles of impeachment. He's been impeached. It's kind of like if you were indicted by a grand jury. Mm. Okay, the grand jury has heard one side of the and that's what grand juries do. They hear one side of the testimony.
Right.
They hear the prosecution side. Daniel did this, and on this date, and blah, blah. You're not allowed to go in there and testify, although they did invite President Trump. You're not allowed to bring any witnesses in there, although they told President Trump you could bring whoever you want here. And they subpoenaed people that did not show up. And they subpoenaed people and said, we want to talk to these people. And Trump administration said, you're not going. Okay, so they got more in the impeachment hearings than you would at a grand jury hearing. Okay, now at the grand jury, all this evidence is presented against you, and boom, we're going to hand down what's called a true bill. We find that he needs to be indicted. You're indicted. So now that indictment can be held by the district attorney's office indefinitely. Just because you're indicted doesn't mean that, but then once you're indicted, then a warrant's issued for your arrest, and you're served the indictment, and boom, then you get out, and you have your day in court.
Right.
And that's when you get to bring your witnesses in. That's when you get to have your say. That's when you get to confront your accuser. And all this is going to happen. In due time, Donald Trump will have to confront his accuser. He'll have to confront the whistleblower. He keeps wanting to know who the whistleblower is. You will. You're going to know. You're going to find out who it is. Mm-hmm. And he had every opportunity to present witnesses. He had every opportunity, and he sent counsel down. People try to make out like this was a big one-sided witch hunt. And it seems that way to the average layman. As I've said before on this podcast, if you don't work in politics or you have not studied politics, it is actually difficult to understand some of the things that go on.
Right.
They seem one-sided. They seem unfair. But in the end, they are fair. And the reason is because the entire world is watching. Mm-hmm. This is not just some backwoods court in Forsyth County, Georgia, or Madison, Alabama. This is on the world stage. Everyone's watching. Everyone is analyzing. Everyone is picking this apart. And everybody's got a take on what's going on. The President of the United States will get his day in court when Pelosi decides to present the articles of impeachment. And she can hold out as long as she wants to. There's nothing that says that she has to, And right now, Trump is he's furious. He says it's hurting his. He said in a statement that it's hurting his position with other world leaders. Well, Mr. President, the impeachment's not hurting your position with world leaders. Your Twitter account is hurting your position with world leaders.
Yeah, I will say that about Trump. I did vote for him. I do support him. But take his fucking phone away from him.
Yeah, and that's the problem. He's the commander in chief. Who's going to do that? The chief of staff, the Senate. No one can take his Twitter. He's got the right to. And here's the beautiful thing. They want to talk about.
I'll tell you what, if Mad Dog was still there.
Well, Mad Dog was smart, and he left. And he left with class. He left with style.
He did, absolutely.
He left in a manner befitting a 4-star Marine Corps general. And
yes.
After he left, even when Trump questioned his integrity and questioned his service, which I thought was really disgraceful for the president to do. Mm-hmm. This is a man who's never served in uniform in his life, questioning a 4-star general who's been in 2-3 wars, and he has the temerity to question the honor and integrity of General Mattis. Mattis still didn't really even fire back. I mean, he said something like, "Well, I got my spurs in the saddle in Afghanistan or something, and he got his spurs, talking about bone spurs, while in cadet school." And I thought that was kind of a funny statement for him to make. And he did it offhand. He didn't mention any names. He did it, like I said, with the class and style that's befitting a 4-star general.
I'm surprised Giuliani didn't come up and say, "I'm not stupid. You're stupid."
Well, Giuliani, yeah. You know what? I'd pay good money to see those two, to see Giuliani and Mad Dog Mattis square off. And the best thing Giuliani could do would be shut the hell up and go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a 4-star general that you're talking to in the Marine Corps, and you might want to shut the hell up.
You're talking about the man who was quoted as saying, "Be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet."
And his call sign Chaos stands for Colonel always has outstanding solutions.
Yes.
Yeah, that back when he was a colonel. That's just one of the things, and we've spoken about this before on the show. You can look at the number of rats that have jumped ship.
Yeah.
And if one rat jumps off a ship and a second jumps off a ship, maybe the rats are just crazy. I don't know. But when a lot of them start jumping,
Maybe the ship's going down.
Maybe the ship's going down. I don't know. I'm thinking I might want to check the hold down. I might want to go down in the bilges and see if there's a leak.
Yeah.
Because they know something I don't, and people have been leaving left and right. This is an administration that if people don't leave, then they get fired. And if you say anything that the president doesn't like, you get fired. You get called into question. Your loyalty's called into question. And it is really – I've come I've thought about this and put some serious thought into it. The president of the United States has almost a cult-like following.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I mean by that. His supporters are his supporters to the point of totally ignoring everything that's put in front of them. It's fake news. Oh, that's a lie. That was made up. Oh, that's fabricated. Well, you're taking that out of context. And at the end of the day, the argument is, well, we didn't put him in office because, he was smart. We put him up there to get things done, and he's getting things done. Yeah, not quite the things we need done, I will have to, I got to say. The following that he has, the people that are his supporters, it almost seems to me like they don't want to look at the evidence, or they've drank so much Kool-Aid that they can't see the evidence, and they're
blinded by faith, is what it is.
It is, and that's the definition of a cult.
Yeah,
you're following this person to the point of obsession, and with no regard for evidence that's right in front of you. Now, have the Democrats done some things wrong? Absolutely.
Some things.
Several things wrong.
Okay.
We're going to talk about some of those in a minute. And which brings me to something that this is in the area of politics. I've been a registered Democrat for most of my life. That said, I have from time to time voted for a Republican, voted for Ronald Reagan. I also voted for Strom Thurmond when I lived in South Carolina. I voted for Donald Trump in the last election, much to my chagrin. That said, I've come to a decision. I've been doing some soul searching, and I think that I'm going to change my political affiliation. Mm-hmm. I'm going to become a registered independent.
I thought you were about to say a socialist.
No. I'm not happy with some things that my party, the Democratic Party, has been doing. But I'm not quite rabid enough to become a Republican yet. So I think I'm just going to kind of straddle in between the two and just become an independent. I'm really thinking about changing my whole affiliation. I've given it a lot of thought, and the Democrats have gone too far left, but the Republicans are just too far to the right.
I think we need to just do away with political parties altogether and just, treat it kind of like a fucking job application. Elect the person, choose the person who is best suited for the job.
Do you know who else thought that? General George Washington.
Mm-hmm.
President George Washington, in his farewell address, warned against, and this is a quote from him for his farewell address, stay away from the bane of faction. Mm-hmm. What he meant by that was being a Republican, being a Democrat, being a Whig, being a Tory, being whatever the party, don't be in a faction, because the bane of faction causes dissent. It causes you're not unified as a country. And what you just said it goes right back to that. Just don't be a Democrat. Don't be a Republican. Just be a good person.
Be an American.
Be an American. Be an American first. And I couldn't have said that better, which is one of the reasons why I think being an independent makes more sense to me, because, like I said, with regards to what's going on in Virginia right now, if we want to jump into that, the Democratic Party is just I'm appalled by some of the things they're doing, but I really can't stomach the Republicans at all. So I'm forced to go down the middle.
Before we get into Virginia, I'm
not getting into Virginia. I'm staying the hell out of there. That's just me. But
a friend of mine brought it up to me, and I know what my opinion is on this, but I want to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
Excuse me. So, as you well know, they have recently raised the age to purchase tobacco products to 21 years old,
mm-hmm.
from 18 in most states, 19 in Alabama, but in most cases from 18 to 21 in an effort to prevent 14 and 15-year-olds from purchasing tobacco products.
Well,
we've gone from 18 to 21 to stop 14, 15-year-olds from buying tobacco products.
Okay. Well, can you explain to me how that's going to stop 14 and 15-year-olds from buying tobacco products?
I know, right? I mean, it's...
Are we talking about 14 and 15-year-olds that look like they're 18? Because,
Well, it's...
What about 18-years that look like they're 21?
Right. In the most cases, the 14 and 15-year-olds are not even buying the tobacco products. It's not so much a case of 14 and 15-year-olds buying it. It's more a case of contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Well, the whole vaping thing, because, smoking is against the law. Vaping is not. Now they're having to reclassify things. They're having to redefine smoking as also vaping. But by definition, it's not, because it's not smoke; it's vapor.
Yes.
But the vaping is being proven to be actually worse than smoking. Mm-hmm. I do neither. I don't smoke. I don't vape. I drink like a fish, but I don't do either of those things. So my lungs are happy. My liver maybe not so much. But back to what you're saying is. I think this is. I saw something the other day that really brought that to the forefront, and it addresses what you just said. At the age of, you have to be 21. You're going to have to be 21 now to vape or smoke.
Yes.
You have to be 21 to drink.
Yes.
Now, you can be 18 or 19, and you can assume hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be 17 and you can serve your country in a war that you didn't start.
Oh, you can also be 18 and vote for elected officials.
Absolutely. So the government wants you to be able to vote. They want you to be able to assume hundreds of thousands of dollars student loan debt, and they want you to be able to take a bullet for your country, but not to drink a beer and not to smoke a cigarette. I got a fucking problem with that. I mean, can you tell? If you're going to do one, if you're going to do 21 for one, do it 21 for all.
Yeah.
But if you did that, it would deplete the armed services, because a lot of kids right out of high school can't go to college, so their option is, I'm going into the military.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of those kids.
As was I.
And I was better for it. I personally think everybody should serve 2 years of compulsory service.
Oh, I just heard so many heads explode.
I believe 2 years compulsory service should be for everybody here.
I agree. I'm also all for women's rights. I think there should be I think women should have to register for the draft as well, even though we don't use the draft.
No, but you got to register. Selective service, you have to register when you turn 18. And I think 2 years. I think a 2 years compulsory service. It works in Israel. Of course, Israel. No one has more enemies in the world than Israel. They're surrounded by them on all sides. But the United States has a couple enemies too. We just happen to have a bigger stick than most other countries.
Yeah.
But still, 2 years compulsory service, I think, would do a lot of good. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be able to do it. There's a lot of people that would be cashiered that would never make it through boot camp. You know as well as I do. I cringe every time someone says, "Well, I would have served," but just shut the fuck up.
Oh no, my favorite one is always, "Well, I would have served, but if a drill instructor got in my..." Shut the fuck up.
Yes, exactly.
You wouldn't have done shit.
You would have laid on the tarmac and you would have bled. That's exactly what you would have done.
Yes. So we're gonna get off of that, because that's going.
That's a rabbit trail.
I could spend an hour talking about that, but we're not going to. So,
but back to the original thing, the age. If someone can tell me why you got to be 21 to drink a beer, but you can be 18 and 17, 18 and take a bullet for your country, I have a problem with that. I agree, really do. And I know that a lot of the reason why the drinking age was raised to 21, a lot of it had to do with Mothers Against Drunk Drivers.
Yes.
And because there were a lot of kids who are, the theory is that they're not responsible enough to drink a beer. And they can't, they're still kids and they're drinking beer. Well, you know what? They're still kids and they got an M16 in their hand. They're still kids and they're behind the controls of a tank. They're kids and they're on the front lines, but they can't have a damn beer, really, or smoke a cigarette. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't smoke. But they're your lungs, and if you want to rot them, feel free. It's my liver, and if I want it to rot, then that's my prerogative.
Yeah.
And that leads me back to, I think I'm more of an independent or libertarian than I am a Democrat or Republican. Just, leave each other alone. Let people do as they will.
Yes.
But if you're the government, I think enforcing this 21 thing, on its face, in theory, it's a good idea. And you're gonna bristle when I say this. It's like communism. On paper and in theory, it's a great idea. But in practice, it fucking sucks.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
Yes. I agree. I think,
and there's people out there that are going, "What? What did he just say?" Now, if you, as academically speaking, communism is the best form of government, and it's also the worst form of government because in theory, it sounds great, but in practice, that shit just don't work.
It doesn't, and it's not human nature for it to work.
No, it's not. No, somebody's got to direct everything, and that person is at the top of the food chain. That person is okay. Do this, do that, do that, do that. We're all doing this for the common good. Everybody to his own and to his measure, and blah 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 blah. Ayn Rand, blah blah blah. And when everything gets done, when the goal is achieved, now the person at the top is supposed to step down and be just like everybody else. And that fucking never happens. Because once you're in charge, I like being king.
Yeah.
I like being dictator. I like being president for life. I'm not stepping down. And that's where communism fails.
Yep.
Political lesson of the evening.
Yeah. And, not only that, on the flip side of that spectrum, worker A and worker B.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're both doing the same job, so you're both going to receive the exact same benefits.
But worker A works a hell of a lot harder.
Worker A actually does his job. Worker B only half-asses his job. But worker B is still getting the same benefits and outcome as worker A.
Because worker B can't work quite as hard as worker A. So under communism, he still gets the same benefits. And that's bullshit, too.
Absolutely.
Because we've seen that in the service before. People who are gold bricking and laying around and always at dental or always in medical and always this and always that. And it seems to happen they do this right when there's a work party coming along. Right when there's some really serious shit work to be done.
Shit, I got to go to medical.
Yeah, they can't be found. Shammers is what they're called, or gold brickers, or whatever you want to call them. But that's the same principle.
We call them skaters in the Marine Corps.
There you go.
So, but yeah, we're going to get off of that now. Virginia.
Virginia's for lovers, but apparently not gun lovers.
Well. I don't know. It's 50-50 right now.
The Democrats have taken over the House and the Senate in the state of Virginia, and they are enacting some pretty, let me see, how can I say this delicately, fucked up gun laws.
That was pretty delicate, I'd say.
That was very delicate. I could be worse. What they're doing right now is the big thing that I've seen this week is the Attorney General came out with an opinion, his opinion, which doesn't have the effect of law, but it basically clarifies what the law is as the state's top law enforcer. He said basically that these sanctuary counties that are basically saying we're not going to enforce your draconian gun laws. We're not going to let you take guns away. We're not going to let you subvert the Second Amendment. These counties that are calling themselves sanctuary counties, one of them even, there's a sheriff, I forget the county, but he basically said if he has to, he would deputize everybody in the county, which under state law he can do.
Yes.
The sheriff of any county in Virginia can deputize as many people as necessary if he deems there's an emergency, if there's a need. All he's got to do is say there's a need. I got a manhunt. I need to deputize 30 people. They're trying to take our guns. I'm deputizing everybody. Yeah. And he can do that. The Attorney General has said, no, you can't. And they've also said that they're going to use the National Guard to enforce the law.
Yeah, we've been talking about this at length for quite some time, and I mean things are getting serious.
Well, I have a mentor. He's a lawyer in South Carolina, and a mentor, a good friend of mine who is from West Virginia. And he's basically he sent me a message. He said, "These people have lost their goddamn mind." And that's pretty much the consensus of the people in the state of Virginia, because what they've done is it's kind of in a response to what the people in California did. I think it was California and other cities throughout the country that call themselves sanctuary cities. They're not going to cooperate with ICE as far as enforcing immigration law. Okay, so there's sanctuary. So if you're an illegal alien, illegal immigrant rather, and you're in the country and you want sanctuary, you can go to one of these cities, and the police are not going to stop you. They're not going to ask to see your green card. They're not going to ask if you're a citizen. They're just going to kind of look the other way. Well, in response, this is kind of like a Second Amendment response to that. By the same token, we're not going to take your weapon. We're not going to stop you and ask you if you have, a magazine that holds more than a certain amount of rounds. We're not going to ask you what kind of weapon you have. We're just going to kind of look the other way. And what is about to happen if they're not very, very careful? I think a lot of these people that are in the House and the Senate up there, I don't think they studied history. You need to look at the lessons of the Civil War and see just what happens when a group of people, when a group of the populace are pushed too far. Now, you say what you will about the causes of the Civil War and why it was fought, and that's been a raging debate for decades: states' rights or slavery, whatever you want to call it. But what happened is you pushed the Southerners so far, they said, "To hell with it, we're going to war." Now
we can go back further than that to around, early to mid 1770s.
Yes, somewhere along in there when the redcoats said we're going to take your weapons, and we said, let's see about that.
Yeah, we're going to raise your taxes.
Yeah,
no, you're not.
Maybe not so much. And wars have been fought for less, and they're actually, as far as I can see it, they haven't come out and said that's what they're going to do. But the way the law is being written, as I read it, they have the ability. They're writing themselves the ability. They're passing into law the ability to literally take your weapon from you. You've got too many rounds. Your magazine has too great a capacity. This weapon is semi-automatic, and we don't like that. They're going so far as to saying that if you, Daniel, teach firearm safety, teach marksmanship, and I learn your firearm safety,
and then go out and shoot up a Walmart,
that you can be arrested and charged as an accessory to murder.
Yes.
And that's the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard in my life. But what they're doing is this is a take on the lawsuits that people have instigated against gun manufacturers for, your weapon is responsible for killing some kids at Sandy Hook. And Sandy Hook was a terrible tragedy. But we need to realize that Sandy Hook was not – Remington Firearms did not go in there and kill a bunch of kids. Winchester did not go in that school and kill a bunch of kids. An idiot, a crazy moron, a mentally ill individual went in with a weapon and killed. Now, if he'd have went in with a K-bar knife, would we shut down K-bar? Would they quit providing the military with knives?
Oh, I mean, just recently, over the weekend, there was a stabbing in New York. At a Hanukkah celebration. Last day of Hanukkah, guy came in with a big-ass knife and stabbed like 7 people.
Where's the outrage? Where's the protest against the knife makers?
Yeah.
Hey, I think Case. We ought to start protesting Case. Let's protest K-Bar.
No. Case, K-Bar, they're good. Choose one of the other ones, like Frost. Protest Frost.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're going, but the point is this: where's the outrage over that? There was like a couple of years ago, an idiot ran down a city sidewalk. I think it was in New York, and ran over a whole bunch of people before he was finally stopped by a barricade.
Oh my Jesus Christ! We need to ban automobiles.
Hey, let's start boycotting. Let's go to Detroit tomorrow. Let's start a boycott in Detroit against GM. And
do we still have auto industry in Detroit? I thought it moved out.
I think they're trying to revive it. But the point is, and I know that there has to be an answer. There has to be a happy medium. Maybe there is no answer, but I know the answer is not subverting the Second Amendment to the Constitution. It's not taking away our liberties, because, as I've said before on this show, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, any civilization, any country that is willing to give up liberty for security deserves neither liberty nor security. That's a paraphrase, but I mean that's the basis of it. If the state of Virginia can go and take the weapons from the citizens of the state of Virginia, it sets a very, very bad precedent. It's a slippery slope because now West Virginia is going to say, well, maybe we should do the same thing, And this goes back to earlier what I said, my misgivings about the Democratic Party, which I've been a member of for my whole life. I know these are probably these. I don't know what these Democrats are thinking in Virginia, but what they're doing is they're setting the stage. They're setting the stage for
Civil War Part 2.
Possibly that, but for the slippery slope of other states being able to follow in the steps. Now, what's to say that a Democratic-controlled, if both houses are controlled in another state, they won't say, "Hey, let's do like Virginia. Let's get rid of all the weapons." You're going to find that it's a whole lot easier to keep people from getting weapons that don't have them than it is from taking them away from those who do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any. I have no means of doing anything about you keeping me from having a firearm. But once I've got one, you want to come and take it, you might find that to be a little difficult.
Now, you've seen it already, so what do I have on my right hip right now?
You've got is that a Glock?
Yeah, Glock 19.
Glock 19. Yeah.
Gen 4.
Mm-hmm.
Fully loaded magazine with 2 spares on the other side.
Because otherwise it's just a nice paperweight.
Well, yeah. I will say this. I am indoors. I am Condition 3 right now. I usually don't leave my house without being in Condition 1. However, I do feel relatively safe here.
Some of the people here at the radio station, several people here carry. And one particular, I won't mention his name, but if you go into the control room on his show, it looks like wait a minute, are you in DJ mode or are you in firearm sales mode today? Because he's got like 2 clips laid out here. He's got a Glock, he's got a 45 here, a scope. I'm like, dude. What are you waiting? You never know. He looks at me. He always goes, "You never know." It is a radio station, and hey, if some kook wanted to make a statement, a political statement, what better thing to do than to walk into a station, shoot it up, and get on the air?
Well, yeah, that is true.
This would be the wrong station to pick. Just let me tell you, I would stay away from WQSB if I were you. It's not a good station to pick. Might want to go to the next one down the street, but Yeah, you carry, and a lot of people I know open carry and have a CCP, concealed carry permits as well. And I haven't. When's the last time I've heard of a mass shooting here in the state of Alabama? Exactly.
Well, the mall in Hoover a couple years ago.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. It's been a couple years. But most of the people, and this is a state that's pretty much Republican controlled. I think both houses are Republican controlled in the state of Alabama. I could be wrong about that. I try not to pay too much attention to Alabama politics because it's so depressing. They're so goddamn crooked down there in Montgomery. It's a joke. They operate with impunity, and it's like the remember the TV show. The movie, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. The scene where the governor says, I do a little dance to the left and I slide to the right, and a little deflection here. And that's pretty much what goes on down in Montgomery. Montgomery's like a small version of Washington, D.C., for those of you who don't understand politics in Alabama. But let's not get into that. I did want to point out, while we're talking about firearm safety, and the right to keep and bear arms, today in Texas, there was a church in White Settlement, Texas. Hell of a name of a town. But
this is Sunday.
Yes.
Sunday.
I'm sorry, Sunday. Yesterday. My bad. In Texas, this guy stood up in church and shot 2 people, and it only lasted about 3 seconds. But that 3 seconds was enough for this idiot to shoot 2 people who were at a church getting ready to worship God. And
looked like from what I saw in the security footage, he had like a shotgun or some sort of long gun. But yeah, as soon as it started,
two churchgoers, 3, and a security guard. Well, it was 2 churchgoers, a security guard, or 3?
It was 3 parishioners.
3 parishioners, and that
all
one
3 of them
security
were armed.
And they took his ass out in short order.
Yeah. So there were 3 casualties in total. One victim was killed. The suspect was killed. And the other victim, last I heard, was
in critical condition, but is expected to recover, but in critical but stable condition. But yeah, one parishioner died, and the gunman died quickly.
Yes.
And everybody is praising. They're saying, this. God bless these people. But
God bless Texas.
God bless Texas. Okay. But and here's the thing. It is sad that our society has devolved to the point where
we have to have armed security in a church.
And hey, if some people had firearms in Charleston, South Carolina, Dylan Roof wouldn't have been able to kill as many people as he did.
I agree.
You never need a gun until you need a gun.
That's right. And 9 times out of 10, when you need a gun, you call somebody with a gun.
Well, as long as I'm riding with Daniel, I'm pretty good in that respect, because he's a believer in walk softly and carry a armored tank division. But the point being is that you never need a gun until you need one, and then it's like you pointed out, or what I said earlier, without it being loaded, it's in one chambered, it's just a nice looking paperweight.
Yeah, and I treat it the same way. Like they taught us in the military treating condoms. It's better to have one and not need it than need it and not have one.
Exactly. And the folks up in Virginia, it goes back to, remember the I forget the idiot Democrat that was all for gun control, and they said, okay, well, Senator, I want you to put, since you don't believe in you don't have a firearm in your home, and you don't believe in carrying a firearm, I want you to put on your front lawn, this house does not, there are no firearms in this house. We do not carry firearms. This house is not protected by firearms. And he said, well, why? He's like, well, why don't you do that? Since you're proud that you don't have a firearm and you don't carry one and you're not going to have one in your house, put a sign in your front yard that tells everybody that you don't have a firearm. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, no, why not? Because he doesn't want everyone to know that he doesn't have a weapon in there. Well, then why don't you have a weapon? If you want everybody to think you got one, why don't you just have one?
Yeah.
And if you're such a great, advocate for not having a firearm, let everybody know. No, you don't want anyone to know that you don't have a firearm.
Yep.
Because you want that safety.
Yep. So we're running short on time, so we're going to have to leave it there. Don't forget to go on Facebook, Two Beards Talking, like us, follow us, interact with us.
Tell us
know
we
what
suck.
You think.
Yeah.
Tell us we suck. If you think we suck, tell us we suck.
Tell us what you'd like for us to what topic that you would like us to tackle in the coming weeks, and no subject is taboo.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, don't forget to tune in on Tuesday nights for my show, 2AT, Second Amendment Talk with Rod Burks. We're definitely going to go more in depth with this Virginia fiasco, as well as the...
Virginia is for idiots.
Yes. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ. It's coming. I've been saying it for months.
We've joked about it, but it seems
coming.
Like there could be a second Civil War, and it could start in Virginia.
It's coming. Winter is coming.
Okay. Winter is coming. Our words.
Yeah. So, be sure to tune in Tuesday night and listen to me and Rod talk about all that. Again, big shout out to the troops overseas, men and women serving overseas and on the home front.
And you can catch me Monday through Friday, 7 to midnight on Alabama's Country Giant, WQSB, streaming live at WQSB.com. If you like country music, listen, give me a call.
Yep. So like I was saying, like Donnie said, WQSB 105.1 FM here in Northeast Alabama. Tune in if you like country music. Like you said, you can stream it online and
live
everything.
Live at WQSB.com.
Yeah, so again, big shout out to the troops serving overseas and on the home front. We appreciate everything y'all are doing, keeping us safe. Keep up the good work. We're all rooting for you here back at home. This has been Two Beards Talking on Armed Radio. I'm Daniel Sanders.
I'm DonnieJ.
Thanks for listening, everybody.